Look at this. I wrecked this bearing and there is no way to fix it because I just pressed this hub assembly through my bearing on accident when I was installing it. This is a bearing removal and press tool. I'm going to show you how to use this to press a bearing into a steering knuckle and how to press a hub into this bearing. And I'm going to show you how I ruined this brand new hub and bearing by being a dummy when I used this. So I'll show you how to use it the right way and also how to avoid ruining this and ruining your whole afternoon. Okay, first thing first, I got to get this hub out of the steering knuckle. It's easiest to do this with a slide hammer when it's still on the machine, but this is not on the machine because I screwed this one up and I have to use the existing steering knuckle because I can't get a new one. So I'm going to use a socket and slam it in the back of this hub here and see if I can get it to come out. This is not the easiest way to do it or the right way, but we passed that exit a while ago. All right, step one done. Now we got to get the bearing out of here. Let's show you how to use the bearing tool to do that. Okay, this is an OMT kit. Works great the first time I used it. You're gonna need this. You're gonna need one of these. You're gonna need these. You're gonna have to pick out one of these. Don't remember which one I used the first time. And some other stuff. I'll show you what you're gonna use to push this busted bearing out of here after we take this clip out. That one got me right here. First thing we gotta do is pick an appropriately sized cup that is smaller or bigger than the bearing. It'll kind of just sit on the outside rim right here. So there's that one right there. This will sit on the outside rim right here. Perfect. And pick one of these doohickeys here, these stepped rings that'll sit on the outside of the cup. So those go together perfect. And then we got to pick out one of these guys that's going to go on the other side and push the bearing out of here. So it needs to be smaller than this. But big enough to sit on the lip of the bearing and push it out. All right, here's a good one. Let's show you. That'll be fine. You can do it like this too, I guess. Really doesn't matter. Maybe that gives us more surface area to push with. We'll try that one. Oh, need a washer here. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to go grab a socket to put all over this. That's a pretty big one. I don't know how big that is. You know what? We'll just use a big wrench. One there. One over here. I'm going to brace this just against the oops, other way. Brace this against me, I guess. And just start spinning. And this cup is going to catch that bearing when it comes out the other side. This will be way faster using an impact or a ratchet. I didn't want to use an impact to put the bearing in because I didn't want to break it. Well, guess what? I broke it anyway. And I'll show you how I broke it. So we're just screwing this onto that big bolt and it's pushing this way. There we go. The bearing is off. I am going to try to clean out the inside of this. I mean, I guess if there's rust and stuff in here, I don't know what you should do. I'm just spraying it with some WD-40. That's probably the wrong stuff, but whatever. Just if there's anything in here, I want it out. Okay, now we're going to get the bearing in, and we're going to kind of do the opposite of what we already did. So new bearing. Somebody said to test this to see if it's magnetic on one side, because if it is, you want to make sure that magnetic side's pointing towards your wheel speed sensor. This one doesn't got a magnetic wheel speed sensor. Okay, so bearing in, then we got to find a cup that'll only push on the outside of this. We don't want it pushing on the inside. So one of these guys, one of these stepped guys, that'll sit down inside the bearing, and only push the outside. You want this to sit on the inside. I tried this one, but once it got deep in here, it started catching up on the edge here. And it was a nice tight fit, but unfortunately I got to go with a different size. It kind of scoots around in there because this one, the outside edge is slightly smaller than the outside edge of the bearing, but still pushes on the edge of this bearing. So there you go. So we're going to need one of those. We're still going to need that long bolt thing. We're going to need this side here. This is the side that's going to push this thing in. And then we don't need the big cup on the other side. We can get rid of that. But we will need something just to sit on the other side here. And we don't want this thing to touch the bearing at all. We want it to only touch the surface of the steering knuckle. So this is only touching the surface of the steering knuckle. So big, yeah. So we're going to get the nut on this bolt. We do want to make sure this bolt's going pretty straight. We don't want this thing at a weird angle. Make sure that's completely clean, which it's not. That's fine. So that mounts up there. Another washer. Now, I probably could do this whole thing with an impact, but I don't want to. I don't want to mess anything up again because there's not another one of these assemblies even in the state. I looked around. I found the only one within like a reasonable distance. Okay, so how are we doing around the edge of this bearing? I'm going to try to center this thing up so it goes right through behind the bearing. And it's sticking out on the bottom edge just a tiny bit. Okay, that's good. I'll try to use, this is a 1.5 inch socket on a socket wrench, but you need a lot of force to turn this thing. And this is a 27 millimeter I'm using over here. See, last time I did it, I thought it had bottomed out already because this thing stopped moving. It's because this adapter here, this stepped adapter, had hung up on this lip. So look around, make sure it's not hanging up. Okay, we've stopped. I'm going to pray here that I didn't screw something up too bad. Oh, come on now. Now I'm almost to the step where I really screwed up. We're getting there. Remember that clip that went flinging out of here? I got to put a new one in here. This is not a how-to video on how to install these snap rings. I got these on sale at Harbor Freight. These are the Icon snap ring pliers. It was a whole set for like $8. I wonder why it was on sale. Hup. I pretty much got it. First try, no failures. All right, so now we're to the part where I royally screwed up. This is the important part, putting the hub into this bearing. So here's the hub. It needs to be pressed in to the bearing on this side. And I'm going to use the same tool I've already used to do it. But where I screwed up was when I was pushing it in on the back side. I was pressing against the top, not the center of the bearing. So we need to find one of these stepped rings. That'll press only on the center of the bearing, not on the outside. And that is where I royally screwed up, was I just pushed this thing right through. So that's where I royally screwed up. I just pushed this thing right through the center of this bearing. So we're going to find a bearing, or one of these center rings that touches the center of the bearing, and that's it. There we go. A little teeny tiny one that just sits only on the outside. There, we can even do it like that. Kind of nestles in and only sits on the inner part of the bearing. And we can basically just use any plate to push against this thing. So the reason we're doing this is so when this thing pushes through that center part of the bearing, it doesn't push the center part of the bearing out. That's what I messed up. So this plate is pushing back against this thing. So it's sandwiching the bearing in between this plate and this plate. It's making a nice little sandwich. Okay, we're stopped. Loosen it up and see if I screwed up this time. Oh man, that's awesome. And no wobble. So that's how we do it with this kit. I'll put a link to the kit in the description. Good luck out there. I got quoted $400 to do this job, and I said, I can do it myself cheaper. Now I'm in at about $150 in parts, $100 kit, $250, and my whole day, which I guess my time's worth nothing. I don't know, but time to go install this on the car.